I love tabletop role-playing games. Conan 2D20? Yeah. Cyberpunk Red? Yes. Call of Cthulhu? Hell yes. And yes, even Dungeons and Dragons. D&D seems to be a polarizing game these days, what with WotC's forever embarrassing mismanagement of the IP. And, let's just full stop here real quick. Let's get this out of the way. Yes, I think Hasbro and WotC are doing irreparable damage to the IP by kowtowing to the Twitter and Critical Role crowds. Yes, I'm one of those old school J.R.R. Tolkien and Robert E. Howard fans that thinks that beast races are inherently evil. Yes, I'm a fan of the classic artwork of Elmore and Parkinson and Caldwell and Lockwood and Brom, and the list goes on and on. Yes, my idea of fantasy is arcane wizardry, ancient mastery of primordial realms, huge hulking badasses with rippling muscles, dragons that rain fire down upon their hapless foes, and scantily clad women with chainmail bikinis. And yes, I think that playing a role-playing game to explore your weird fetishes and attend a furry prom is fucking weird and stupid. Yes. However, if you're still with me, that's the beauty of tabletop role-playing games. You can play them how you want. Just because I think something is fucking stupid doesn't mean that you can't play it that way. You just won't play it that way at my table. The dichotomy of all this is that as far as Dungeons and Dragons goes, I'm a relatively new player. I've only been playing for, 6 years? But I'm one of those weird, Rain Man type of fuckers that goes completely all in and learns the history of the game and all the lore and everything else, and then I play. So with that said, this video isn't really going to be about tabletop role-playing games as a whole. No, this video is going to be about me and D&D. I think my relationship with D&D really started with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, Conan the Barbarian. That or He-Man. You see, as a young, impressionable ne'er-do-well, I took to sword and sorcery and high fantasy like Kevin Smith takes to crying at mediocre nostalgia pandering. That joke may actually be dated, but whatever. Kevin Smith sucks. My point is, as a young man, I was into all of the D&D things without actually being into D&D. He-Man? Yeah. Conan? Yup. I had Ralph Bakshi's Fire and Ice and Lord of the Rings on VHS, and I played them until the tapes came apart. If you've ever listened to my podcast, you know that I came up on genre film. My dad, he was a huge fan of genre film, and so by extension, I wound up not only watching Frankenstein and Earth versus the Flying Saucers, but I also got a healthy dose of the Greek myths with Jason and the Argonauts, and sailed the high seas on the seventh voyage of Sinbad. And side note, the scantily clad badass women thing probably started with Carolyn Monroe. Just saying. My favorite video games as a child were fucking Zelda and Golden Axe. So you see, I knew D&D before D&D knew me. As I got older, I found that rewatching these old films just kind of didn't cut it for me anymore. I still loved them, I still enjoyed them, but I wanted something more. Enter The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion. The first time I played this game, I was absolutely blown away. It was just about everything that I loved about the genre. There were monsters, heroes, damsels. There weren't any dragons, though, but that, as we know, would come later. I played Oblivion countless times, and I still hold it as my favorite Elder Scrolls game. But again, I could only relive something so much before that hole was there again. I had my Skyrims, my Dragon Ages, my Two Worlds. Yes, I played Two Worlds. Hell, there were even really subpar Conan and Golden Axe games released for the Xbox 360, and I ate them up. It didn't matter. If it were sword and sorcery, if it were fantasy, I wanted it. So it's probably important to note that I knew of Dungeons and Dragons at this point. I didn't exactly know what it was, but I knew that it was a thing. As far as I knew, it was something that a bunch of dorks played, and I didn't want anything to do with that. How narrow-minded and ignorant of me, but, I digress. It's important to note that I had actually been playing in a metal band for a while at this point, and I'm not talking about, like, Manowar, power metal, where I was wearing a loincloth, though now at 40 years old and being completely out of shape, I'm not opposed to doing that. But no, this was, like, Pantera and Slayer style metal. Why is that important? Well, because my guitar player was a big Magic the Gathering player. Do you see where this is going now? Huh? Do you? No, I did not start playing Magic the Gathering, and I still don't. I'm not a fan. The guitar player in question, however, seen here, that's him, that's me. He would introduce me to D&D. I believe it was 3rd edition at the time. I took the player's manual home. I made a character. Ironically, it was a half-orc barbarian. I know, I'm a hypocrite, right? Oh, abuse racist, fuck off. I had no idea what I was doing at the time, so yeah, I rolled my character, I made my backstory, and I invented all this lore in my head, and I never played. Nope, not even sure why. Sure, I was excited for it. Obviously, I put the effort in. But yeah, I just didn't pull the trigger. Maybe it was a commitment issue, but I don't know. Life goes on, but now I knew what D&D was. As the years went on, my friend and I discussed fantasy stuff, and it would always come back to Dungeons and Dragons. You should play it, man. It would be fun. I didn't deny any of this, but I don't know. I just didn't do it. This continued, and eventually 5th edition released. I, like many others, discovered Critical Role, which I thought was cool at the time. And hey, it's for someone, right? I don't know. It's just not for me anymore. But at the time, I was like, hey, this looks like fun, but this isn't the edition that I remember. So I looked into 5th edition. And then I touched base with my friend who was actually still playing 3.5 at the time. I told him I would probably be interested in playing for real this time, and we both took a look at 5th edition. Now, say what you want about 5th edition, but the early iteration made it incredibly approachable for new players, and a new player I was. 5th edition has since been sanitized and made safe for all those that don't spend money on the product, and is generally kind of meh now, but again, that's the beauty of tabletop role-playing games, right? You don't have to use it if you don't want to. So without committing to a full campaign, we decided that he would DM a one-shot with potential for a campaign with myself and his wife playing. So I rolled up my fighter barbarian from Icewind Dale, Volstagg Giant's Bane, and I'm going to be honest, I don't recall what the story of the campaign was exactly. It's actually real quick worth noting that my friend typically runs original adventures instead of modules. But I do recall there being a battle which saw the mighty Volstagg pick up and throw a large dining room table at some enemies, and we'll just say that they were orcs, knocking them down the stairs and crushing them beneath it. Now, this didn't happen immediately, as I'm pretty sure that I failed to check at least 2 times, much to his wife's chagrin, because we were an initiative after all. But with the success of my 3rd attempt, Volstagg quipped, "'Twas just a bit slippery. Couldn't get a good grip. Blood on my hands and all." I was hooked at that point. We played a few more sessions and even introduced my longtime best friend to the game, and then, well, I don't really know why, but we just kind of stopped. Then we were D&D-less for a while. Then the world shut down. People were freaking out. People were scared. I went to work every day, so I guess I'm a hero. While I was being a hero in my everyday life, we got to talking about starting a new D&D campaign on Foundry. With an actual whole-ass party. My friend would DM, his friend would play a dwarven cleric, and their significant other would play an elven monk. I had 2 roommates at the time that would join, and then they quickly left. And his wife would play a tiefling wizard, I think it was. Me? Well, this was it for me, my magnum opus. I was playing Khal the Breaker, a fighter barbarian. Do you sense a theme here? Who was a slave and forced to fight in the pits. His clan and family were murdered, and he had nothing left but the glory of battle. Okay, alright, so I made Conan kind of. Fuck off. Grom. The campaign was epic, if not still unfinished. We fought bandits and goblins and orcs and wizards and bog hags. Hell, Khal even caught up with his long-lost brother, who was now at odds with him. The two clashed, and in one of the all-time badass moments of our campaign, Call's brother dropped to one knee, bested in battle, and begged for mercy and forgiveness. Call, without hesitation, looked his brother in the eyes and said, "No kin of mine would ever kneel before another," and then slit his throat wide open. My group loved it, and it still lives on as one of the most badass moments in our sessions. This was Call's only surviving family member, his last link to discover what happened, and without hesitation, because of his code of honor, he killed him. This wouldn't be my coolest moment, though. No, not by a long shot. See, the crux of the campaign was that we were realm hopping in this magical tower. We were looking for these rods/keys to unlock this door in the tower and hopefully find a way for all of us to get back home. I can't help but think that this was the Rod of 7 Parts, but my DM actually has never confirmed anything. So, during our escapades, Call and my DM's wife's character did not get along. Call, however, due to his code, cared deeply for his new family, her included. They were his new clan. This is important. Why? Well, because during a particularly grueling encounter with a dragon, Call thought that the dragon had killed her. Now, to make things clear, I, as the player, knew that was not the case. But Call, in the scene, does not know that. So, in a rage, because barbarian, I had Call jump from the tower and cleave his axe into the dragon's throat, killing it. What I hadn't thought, however, was fall damage. Call and this monstrous beast plummeted to the ground. The dragon hit, then Call hit, and I was reduced to 0 hit points. Now, because this is 5th edition, we have death saves. Now, I know some of the old school D&Ders aren't really fans of death saving throws. Me, I can go either way. In this instance, it added a ton of tension. Why? Well, we were still on initiative. And as I recall, I was 2 and 2 on my saves, and the next one would be it. I closed my eyes. I clicked the button, never thinking that my friend, the DM, would let my character die on this, my real first campaign. And the words that I heard were as follows. And Call lies motionless, dead next to the slain dragon.
Oh, shit.
Our entire group fell silent. I thought he was joking. I opened my eyes, and no, I failed the roll. Call was dead. This is the beauty of Dungeons and Dragons. When you're with your friends and you're all invested, you create these worlds and these stories, and you can see them in your mind. Just as real as Arnold was to me on the screen when I was a child. And when you're with the right people, they can see it too. The silence hung and felt like an eternity. Though we were still in initiative, our cleric finally made it to me and just happened to have the reagents to bring Call back from the dead. Seriously, we were going to sell this diamond in the town before this adventure, but we wound up holding on to it. Happenstance at its finest. Call woke up and saw the tiefling and immediately was shocked that she was alive, and she was pissed that he had done something as stupid as jumping off a tower to kill a dragon and fall to his death. It was a moment. I had plans for how Call would deal with being killed and then being brought back. His death was an honorable one, and that was something that he and his clan sought. Now it was taken from him. I thought, how does being on the other side and then getting ripped back to reality affect someone? I had all these plans for character development and the psyche and to see where Call might go. But then the world opened back up. People went back to work. Well, not me, because I never stopped, hero and all. Everything became normal-ish again. And with that came the realization that no one really had the time to keep up with this as we had been doing. We never said we were stopping officially. We just kind of did. I'd like to think Call's out there somewhere, killing an orc or an ogre right now, but I don't know. Maybe we'll pick it up again one day and we'll see where Call's at. We did a few one-shots since then. Hell, I even picked up the DM reins and ran a few different games at this point.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but a learner.
Now I am the master.
One of which took place in the world of Tamriel for the Elder Scrolls, and the other in this kind of weird fiction homebrew that I did based on like Robert E. Howard and Clark Ashton Smith, world of sorcery and pirates and high adventure, because, why wouldn't I do those things? I have to bring it full circle, right? In fact, we even have a brand new in-person group that I'm getting ready to go play with here in a few hours. I'm a paladin this time, though. Not really completely married to this character. It's been fun to play something different. And that's the thing, right? It's fun. It's fun because tabletop role-playing games are fun. It's fun because hanging out in a fantasy world with your friends is fun. It's fun because with like-minded individuals, Dungeons and Dragons is fun. Thanks for watching. If you liked that video, please hit the little thumbs up icon, hit the little subscribe and the bell notifications so you know when I have more content up. This was cool. I might do more of these in the future. I gotta go play D&D now, so I will catch you on the flip side.